The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah!
Go Cowboys!
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com.
We were on a break!
With Ambar Garcia, Bryan Broaddus, Voch Lombardi, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Tuesday, December 30th, 2025, season 21, episode number 101. Welcome to the latest edition of The Break. We are live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star, presented by LG. LG is the world's #1 OLED TV brand for 11 years and counting. See why at LG.com/OLED Evo. How's everybody doing today? You good? Huh? You good?
I do this intro every day.
I know. You good? You having a good day?
Man, I'm blessed, Derek Eagleton, man.
Blessed and highly favored.
I'm good to go, man. People in the chat say I talk too much, but it's the end of the season.
Hey, man, don't nobody care what them people over there saying, man.
Huh?
Don't nobody care what them people over there saying.
I just want to let people know that I seen.
No, I care to reply because they get on my nerves sometimes.
Ambar will make the whole show about her. I just like to read. I just read quietly to myself. Look, I see y'all's concerns, man, but Derek want me to talk. Y'all be like, yo, Voch talking too much. Derek be wanting me to talk.
I want all y'all to talk.
It be
You've been
times.
doing better lately.
I'm trying, Ambar. I'm not used to this.
It's all about
You're not used to this.
It'll
It's been
be
a year, bro.
times. It'll be times where Derek could be like, "All right, Voch and Bryan, tell us about something." And they be like,
Oh, we're gonna do that in the second segment.
and they be like, "Oh, they're not letting Ambar talk." Derek asked, da-da-da-da-da-da-da. They don't ask why is Voch not talking.
Watch first
during the
question.
Yeti segment?
Watch first question today. Who it goes to today?
What we got to talk about in a second. I'm not ready.
We got a lot to talk about today. We actually have
the
more.
brain of Bryan Broaddus.
Yeah, we're gonna do that. But we
Oh,
got
not like Giants or nothing, right? Oh.
yeah, we're gonna do some Giants
Today.
Maybe we'll do it tomorrow.
Oh, stay on your toes.
I do have
Voch.
the Yeti segment ready. For
Okay, we
whatever.
definitely doing Yeti tomorrow. No doubt we're doing
Whatever.
Yeti tomorrow.
I'm
Nigga
ready.
told-
Right now, we just doing whatever. Like it's
anything.
It's like a substitute teaching.
Is it any different than 17 weeks?
We're just chilling today.
Hey man, Jerry Jones on the radio and called that man Uberflus. Y'all heard that? Uberflu. He called him Uberflu 6 times.
I'd call him that too if I couldn't stop anybody.
He called him Uberflu 6. It's a wrap. It is over.
Well, let's not act like that means something.
What you
Like,
mean?
He will mess up
Jared will miss a
names.
name every once
He
in a
said
while.
Micah's name.
No.
wrong
He's
before.
been
He said-
he's been Micah for years. The minute he's on the list, he's Michael. Jerry don't slip words.
The hardest name I think they ever had to deal with was Broaddus.
Yeah.
Badass.
Biadaz. I mean, we had a lot of them.
That's close though. He called that man Uberflu 6
But
times.
I do love how this morning he didn't even try as a Rocco. He was like 41.
Big 41.
At 41.
Making some plays out there.
He didn't even try. He was like, I'm not going there.
Love Jared.
Yeah. All right, let's actually, speaking of which, I wanted to talk about a couple things that Jerry mentioned this morning that I thought were interesting. He was on 105.3 The Fan.
Shut up, that forever.
He was on 105.3 The Fan,
Man, try to
Sean,
start a show.
RJ, and Bobby this morning. And on the topic of the potential changes to defensive coaching staff, here was his quote. He said, we'll get on that pronto. More than one person had their finger on this. We're trying to solve the problem and get better where we are. And one guy is not going to do that. It's not all Eberflus at all.
Yeah.
That has team-wide break. That was a team-wide breakdown.
Yeah.
How do you interpret that?
Go ahead, sir.
If I had to fire my friend, I'd make it sound as cool as I could possibly make it sound, you know. He ain't just flat out say, Jason, you terrible, it's time to go. He let Jason Garrett hang around and pack his books and wipe his desk off, you know what I mean? I think it's on the way. But Jerry wasn't lying because Kenny Murray wasn't all that good this year, you know. Some of the cornerback coach, DB coach, however you want to, label it, all y'all look bad this year. So, yeah, Jerry not wrong, but if you're going to address a unit, you go to the top, man. That's Flus's unit. So he's the top guy.
Yeah, I think to me that I think what Jerry and Steven and Will, and maybe everybody else, because this organization does believe, and on that side of it can come into a consensus. And I think there's a lot of people that like Matt Eberflus. And I think that you have to, if you're Jerry Jones, we have kind of a history of this. If you go back, it was a January 3rd game in 2020, and then that was the end of Mike Nolan. After that game, it was 3 days later. Then they had Dan Quinn a few days later after that. I don't think it'll be that quick, but maybe they have some people in mind. I think where they need to now evaluate, if they've in fact made the decision to move on, and they have to evaluate not only the defensive coordinator, but they have to evaluate all the coaches, defensive line coaches. And I'm including the offensive coaches too here.
Yep.
I mean, you evaluate every year as a general manager, you evaluate where you're at with your coaches. Are there coaches out there that are getting released from teams that might be better fits for what you're trying to do? So you have to evaluate that as well. I think, to me, though, when I look at this, I think that Jerry and Coach Shoddy need to think about something is, okay, why did you bring in Matt Eberflus? If, in fact, that they move on. You have to do the self-evaluation. What mistakes did we make in that? Did we believe that he was a good fit? Did we believe that he is...
Hold on, Mark.
That he's going to... Thank you. Appreciate that.
$1 billion, boy.
10 million.
10 million.
Maybe 12 now.
100 million.
But the thing to me, then you look at the situation and you say, okay, what are the mistakes we made in the hire in the first place? Because this was a hire that a lot of it was because of familiarity. You know, I mean, it wasn't one of these things where all of a sudden it was like, oh, wow, Matt Eberflus is available. Let's go do this. I mean, there was some familiarity with it. And I think there'll be some familiarity with the next hire as well. And so, but you have to make sure if you, in fact, move on, and you move on from the other coaches as well, then you're in a situation where now that you don't make the same mistakes. So I think that's the evaluation. Not only does Jerry Jones need to evaluate his coaches, but he needs to evaluate where he's at with his own process of the way he made the hire.
Make no mistake about it. Everybody had their finger in what we did out there defensively.
Yeah.
Everybody. So that was the quote. My interpretation is clean slate. Let's wipe it out and go. But I'm always wrong from my interpretation of what
It is dangerous
Jerry
when you
Jones
start saying
says.
interpret Jerry, because
Yeah,
you
yeah,
just don't
yeah.
always know where he's going with what he's saying.
He's very creative in the way he says things, and then it turns out to be something completely different than what you thought. So I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly what it is, but if I had to say, I would say right now, it's just that. Yeah, you can blame all the coaches on that side, position coaches. Is there any position coach that you feel is safe with what they did this year? Do y'all have any names?
Not on defense, no.
This was the conversation we had yesterday. I don't think you can look at either at any position on the defense this year and say, hey, I thought we really got better as the season wore on.
Yeah.
There's at least a little bit of an argument. You can say Donovan Ezeraku is performing at the level that you expected maybe when he got here. Not in the way maybe you thought he would, but he is performing at a level. I saw this morning ESPN did something where they had their all-rookie team, and he was listed as an all-rookie player as an edge this year, which, again, they talked about the fact he has been a really, really, really good run defender. He has not been as good in the pass rush, but he's been a really good run defender. And so you feel like as a rookie, that's great. You're moving in the right direction. Outside of that, can you name a single player that you feel like got better?
No,
as the season
you've
went
brought
on?
this up. You've brought this up a couple of different times.
Yeah.
And I'll say this, and I don't know if, and maybe it has to do with the guys that Aaron White-Cotton coached. I kind of felt like my expectations for Solomon Thomas were not that high initially.
Yeah.
Solomon Thomas is a good player, and unfortunately, there's a couple of guys that we didn't see. We didn't see a whole lot of Solomon Thomas. At least my eyeballs didn't see that, you know. And maybe there's a couple of the guys that were probably a little bit better than. I wasn't very high on Clowney. I think Clowney is a situation. Maybe some of these guys overcame some of the coaching things that they were having to deal with. And I hate to blame it all on the coaches, because what's going to happen is these coaches are going to look at it and say, well, when they go and try and get their next job, well, what happened in Dallas? Why were you guys so bad on run defense? And I guarantee you, if the coach is going to say, well, there's some things we didn't do scheme-wise that are probably this, that, and the other, but they're also going to say our personnel wasn't good enough. You know, there were times where they clearly weren't good enough. And one of my questions for you guys today is going to deal with that.
Well, also, it's like you cannot change all the players.
For sure.
You cannot get rid of all the players and all of a sudden bring in top-tier talent. That is impossible in this league. So in any league, you can't do that. So with that, the easiest or most impactful change that you can possibly make is to replace all your coaching staff on the defensive side of the ball and then bring somebody that understands or has a better view and understands the players. You talk about having the talent that fits the right scheme. Figure that out. What is the scheme? What are you trying to do here? And then go from there. But you cannot replace every single player on the defensive side of the ball.
Well, that's the problem, though, they're running into, though, is because of the lack of continuity with the coaches, they have players that don't fit. They're going to, and the reason why you can't replace every single player is because you've had 3 different defensive coordinators. We got into this yesterday about we got into this yesterday about Maris Leofau. Maris Leofau to one staff is a shining light. To another staff, he's barely on the 48 every week. That's the problem that you run into. Offense, they at least have some continuity with the players that they've had. It's like, okay, we've got Dak. They went out, they got a new runner. They've drafted these offensive linemen. The wide receiver, the number 1 wide receiver is a guy that's been here. The tight end's been here. They'd have some continuity there. It's not a mismatched group. And the reason you were kind of able to keep it all together is because you hired a coach from the offensive side who kind of knew what the personnel was. So yeah, they're not going to be able to replace everybody. They can replace the coaches, but we could once again be in a situation where you're now looking at it a whole nother way, that these players just don't fit. Who of the last draft class on defense doesn't fit the next scheme? That's going to be another question you're going to have to ask.
But man, Brian, let me ask you something. Let me just ask you, and this ain't me pushing back because that sounds like we fighting, right?
No, I don't mind the fight.
I think better dudes is always better than continuity. The Cowboys haven't had a reputation of being a fantastic running unit. Like we don't have this reputation of being just a run team.
Yeah,
Mike McCarthy for years couldn't figure out run game.
Right.
But you brought in a good dude. And you have this offensive line that's kind of built of Mike McCarthy guys.
Yeah.
These ain't Clayton Adams' guys, right?
Well,
but you
Booker is.
Booker definitely a Booker.
And Booker is.
But you got better dudes in there. Not all of a sudden you're a top 10 run type team, right?
Yeah.
I don't believe in continuity in that way. I think a good coach could figure out how to use Maris. I think a good coach can get double digits or at least 8 sacks out of Dante. I think a good coach, Donovan Ezaraku is a pass rush savant coming out of college. All of a sudden, he don't know how to get pressure now.
Yeah, no.
I think a good coach can fix all those things, Brian.
No, and I'll say this though too. Connor Riley also had BB. There's some things.
There's continuity there.
Yeah, there's some continuity there. That's what I'm saying though. To me, I feel like the offensive coaches adapted better to their players, and I don't disagree with you about moving on.
Yeah, for sure.
But there's going to be a new group of coaches in here, and especially when you're dealing with an organization, and I say this respectfully, when an organization that thrives on their ability to talk things out, to be on the same page. And there's going to be coaches that have a big opinion. There's going to be whoever the defense coordinator is, he is going to have a big opinion on what players are brought in. Dan Quinn did, Mike Zimmer did, even Matt Eberflus to a point. They brought in some defensive players. Look at the players they signed free agency. Jack Sanborn. We haven't seen Jack Sanborn since week 4. Week 5, maybe. We talk about somebody signed off on Kenneth Murray, and no shot at Kenneth Murray, but somebody in the coaching department signed off on that. Somebody signed off on a trade to trade Micah Parsons on the defensive staff. These are the things that you now have to deal with. I just feel like the offensive coaches did a much better job adapting to the personnel they had as opposed to the defensive coaches.
The one thing I'd also say is if I were Jerry, I would actually sit down with each of these defensive coaches. I wouldn't take it as a blanket, they all got to go.
Right.
I would look at it as I want to sit down with each one of them, and I want to hear from them. Why do you think your unit didn't meet the expectations? And then hear what they have to say, because if they paint the picture and it's a legitimate picture that here's how I wanted to coach these guys, here is how I was being told to coach these guys, and how I was being told to coach these guys got the result it got, but if I would have been able to coach them in this way, we would have had a different result, then I want to hear those things, because that also helps me understand, because I do think that there's situations you can get into where your coordinator might be wanting your players to do a certain thing, and you're saying, I don't think they can do that. I think we're better served doing this, but that's not what the coordinator wants to do. At the end of the day, you still have to listen to what the coordinator's saying. You have to coach in that way. So I want to hear those kind of things if I'm Jerry, and I want to figure out for myself, was this an issue of this coach didn't know what he was doing or couldn't do it effectively, or he was being told to do something that ultimately just didn't work, and he was left helpless to some degree because he was having to do what he was being told to do.
Well, at that point, I mean, it's hard because you never want to go above someone's head.
Throwing Flus under the bus.
Know?
Yeah.
but when your job is on the line, like and your career is
It
on
ain't
the
me,
line,
boss.
Well,
at what point is it okay for you to be like, hey, like this is truly what I see, what I believe.
Yeah.
Let me talk to, let's say, Shoddy.
Yeah.
He's a people's person. He's very communicative.
Yeah.
Like, he talks and all that. So if that was the case, I'm just, again, we're not part of that side of the building. We don't know how those conversations go and the dynamics of that. But I would think at some point you got to be okay in going above someone's head.
Yeah. No, go ahead.
No, that was it. Like when you talk about those guys,
Shoddy got the head coaching job doing this.
Boom.
Dirty Mac.
Shoddy got
Dirty
the head
Mac.
coaching job going, and basically Shoddy's like he's fighting for the offensive coordinator job, and then Jerry and Steven and Will are asking him questions about, well, what would you have done? Well, Mike wanted this. Mike wanted this. Mike wanted this. Mike wanted this.
And not necessarily in a throwing under the bus kind of thing,
but
it is from the
different because he
standpoint
wasn't calling the plays.
No, right, exactly. And I think that's part of it where he still had to answer to someone, and, which was, at that time, it was Mike McCarthy. And so he couldn't just say, hey, I think the offense will function better if we do this, and this.
Yeah.
If McCarthy wasn't willing to do it, then it wasn't going to get done. And so I do think that a part of that conversation, I suspect, I wasn't in the room, I suspect part of that conversation was, okay, Shoddy, how would you have done it differently?
Yeah. There you go.
He had to paint the picture of here's how it was done, here's how I think we can be better, and here's what I think the result's going to be. And he had to sell them on that. And I think the same thing should happen here. You should talk to all those coaches and figure out what were they being told to do, how well did they do that, also what did they think should have been done, and if you can corroborate that, then you'll get a better understanding of where the breakdowns happen.
But Derek, if your last name was Jones and somebody came to your office and said that to you, do you fire him anyway?
No. Why? Why would I?
I'm just like
I would.
Hey, DB's coach.
Yeah,
I would.
Passing game coordinator. This is horrible.
I want to learn.
JJ McCarthy going crazy.
Yeah.
Tell me what happened.
Yep.
Oh, well, Flus did X, Y, Z.
Yep.
All right, that makes sense. You still keep that person?
Nope.
Yes.
I'm firing all these people anyway.
Well, here's the deal. Now, it's not. What I want to know is, I want to know if were they complicit in what was going wrong. So if what they tell me is yes, Flus wanted to do this, my answer will be, okay, so what was your answer? Did you talk to him about this? Yes, I talked to him about this. What was your suggestion? I suggested we do this, and this. Was that ever taken? No, we didn't use it. Or, yeah, we used that one game. You remember that game where we looked actually pretty decent?
Yeah.
That was a result of me saying we should do blah, blah, blah. So, yes, I want to hear all those things. And based upon their responses, it's going to determine for me how I think they are as a coach. Because I don't want to just have a blanket, well, they all just got to go because the defense was so bad.
Oh no, I'm picking brains. I'm picking brains, and I'm moving on if I have to. Yeah. I mean, because someone's going to come in and it's just like Flus wanted his own guys. You'll know real fast by the way you're doing this, Derek. Which coach, if coaches stay, you'll know which one's sold out. And I say sold out. If they you'll
told their truth.
They'll told the truth. Yeah. If you're sitting in a room, listen. I am real honest about what happened to us in the early 2000s when we were 5-11, and I will take every bit of the blame because we were awful at doing our jobs. But I know there was things that I would have done different.
Right.
And ultimately, but it didn't save me my job. But one of the reasons I got let go is because I couldn't keep my mouth shut. Because I will tell you what I thought was wrong. And I'm sure there's some coaches that are very, very loyal to Flus that might not do that. You might, if you get a coach that's not, well, we just weren't good enough. We just weren't good enough. We didn't do a good enough job. If you get that, then you need to move on.
Right, exactly.
But you could also, though, one coach could be spilling his guts about what we would have done differently. And still, I might say, well, listen, you're part of the problem too. So I'm going to, but I learned something from this. I agree. I would talk. But it's not if you spilled your guts, I'm not guaranteeing you a job.
Right. Let's be clear. I'm not saying just because you spill your guts, you keep your job. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is I want to hear from you and get a better,
I do. I want to hear.
I want to get a better understanding
that's just part of
whether I think
exit
you're of whether I
want all the information.
Well, the exit.
And by the way, if you give me something that makes me feel like this really was like you were actually trying to push in a different direction and it just wasn't being heard, that gives me more reason to think maybe you're a really good coach that was just in a really bad situation. situation.
So let me say this: DB coaches can probably talk themselves out of a bag, right? Let's say a name. So White Cotton, right? White Cotton in your office, your last name Jones. What can White Cotton say? Because we got pass rushes probably ain't got nothing to do with the ultimate what's happening back here. Why can't what's going on technique wise? Why aren't we beating one-on-ones? The Giants had the worst tackles I've ever seen. Why can't we get pressure on them? White Cotton come in and dirty Mac on Flus. What part of that dirty Macking would save White Cotton's job is what I'm saying.
It would have to be something that was like, let's say, for example, he was talking about, as Brian laid out a little earlier in the show. Well, you look at Jadeveon Clowney. Most people thought he was kind of washed. And I got the most out of him by working him with doing these things. Yes, Donovan Ezeraku, he could tell me, and this is me making things.
Yeah, sure.
But if he told me, you know what, I saw what he was as a pass rusher in college.
Yeah.
And I'm willing to accept the blame in I didn't really nurture that in the way I did because I felt like it was more important to really focus on him being a good run defender because I know how bad this run defense was.
Well,
and so that's where, and that's,
Fire.
no, wait.
I
So that's where I focused. And maybe I should have spent a little more time really working the pass rush too, but I felt like that was just going to come because I saw that in college. I knew he had those skills. I focused on this. I would look at that as a Jones and say, I don't think this guy's a bad coach. Maybe he made a miscalculation, but I look at him and I say,
So
he certainly.
You took my second round pass rush and made him a run defender. You fired. That's how I feel.
Okay, no, this is what you say.
But that's short term. That's short term.
Even if Clowney's good, like what happened with Sam? What happened with Dante? Like I think there's a lot more evidence in that.
What happened with Sam?
I don't know what.
What is Sam? And I'm being really bluntly honest.
Okay, please.
I like Sam. Has Sam done anything this year that's any different than what he's done through the first several years he's been here?
I think Sam at least had flashes early. He at least had flashes early. I ain't see Sam flash at all this year.
Okay, at what point do you start to say the player just isn't getting to the level he should be?
I think
because
that's
this
fair
is
for
not
Sam.
very different.
I think I'd call Jerry and them for not giving me good enough players.
And that,
What I would do.
And that's
I would say that.
But literally everybody regressed. It wasn't like we stayed at the same level. Like
Right.
'cause one thing is you moving forward, improving. Okay, that's improvement, and it comes with coaching and all that. Another thing is staying at the same level. Okay, that's the base. Another thing is regressing. Everybody regressed.
Right, and when everybody regresses, we said it on this show, so don't backtrack it now.
No.
We said when everybody can't get bad at the same time unless there's something from an overall perspective that's happening. And that points back to the defensive coordinator, right?
Amber not wrong. Amber not wrong. But I'm saying in these one-on-one, a defensive end, win your matchup. Those guys not winning matchups anymore. How much does Flus have say over that? Of you can't beat some third string offensive lineman. How much does Flus, like if Flus calling plays has a lot to do with the overall defensive back scheme stuff, that makes sense. Why can't you win one-on-ones anymore? That's me looking at a D lineman that's not doing right, and I'm looking at the D line coach.
So what if I'm not saying this happened.
Ambar's right.
What if Eberflus told his defensive line coach, I want to be, and they obviously didn't reach this, I want to be a better run defense team than a pass rush team. And because of that, I want these defensive ends, I want them to rush, but I want them to take a beat to make sure the run isn't coming first before they go just hard upfield. And I'm not saying that happened. I'm saying
that's goofy as hell.
Right.
That's goofy as hell if that
Right. But if that happened, why is that Aaron Whitecotton's problem versus Eberflus's problem?
Brian, why is that?
Okay, seriously, this is.
You say you had some.
I do. I have some. I'm gonna treat you as Jerry Jones, and I'm Aaron Whitecott.
Treat him like Jerry.
I'm gonna say, Jerry. I believe in chain of command. Yeah. I'm a big believer.
Yeah, White Cotton, come to me, come to Jerry.
I believe in.
If it's such a problem, why didn't White Cotton?
No. Listen.
Go ahead,
I'm going to start this thing off. You asked me how I'm going to handle this, right? I'm Aaron Whitecott right now.
Let him know.
I said,
Debate
okay.
team.
That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to say, Jerry.
Yeah.
I'm a chain of command guy. I really do believe this. There are things that we absolutely did that I don't like. I worked with Robert Saleh. I think you have a lot of respect for Robert Saleh. You guys, I think, even talked about bringing Robert Saleh in here as a defensive coordinator. Hey, I don't know why that didn't get done, but you know that I know how to rush the passer. Okay? I believe in chain of command. And I'm going to tell you this in the way this. I was asked to coach the guys this way, to your point, which I think is absolutely right. I go, there are things that we would have done at the Jets that are not the same as what we were doing here. If you watch Quinnen Williams play, you saw a productive player. If you just watch our tape, you could see how we got after him on defense. Yeah. We were a terrible football team, and we had a top 10 defense. That wasn't by accident. But we had good personnel. But the way that we coach these guys, I'm here. I'm working chain of command. I believe in Flus. I wanted to work with Flus. He's not the same as Robert Saleh. Right. Robert had us coach in a different way. That tape you were watching with the Jets, I know is not the tape you've seen with the Dallas Cowboys. And but if you had a different defensive coordinator, and you might not want me around anymore. You might say, you know what, you're no good as a defensive line coach. But I'm telling you, though, you watch the tape of the Jets, we got after people, and it was a different scheme, and we were all kind of on the same page. Here you have a problem. You don't have everybody on the same page.
That's some good dirty mac right there, boy.
But it's facts. Like, that, again, that's why I would have the conversation, because I want to find out from these coaches, were you a part of the problem? Or were you trying to be a part of the solution, just your ideas were not being implemented?
Let's say this.
Wait, okay. Yes, we got to take a break because we're almost to the second break. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to hear what Amber has to say, and we're just going to ditch this whole rundown I got for the show because we had a great conversation. All right, we'll be back. DallasCowboys.com radio.
Point.
If you can't be at the stadium, there's no better way to watch your Cowboys than on an LG OLED Evo TV. That's because everything you see is more lifelike. Every play, every hit. I mean, you might as well be on the sidelines. That's how clear it is. It's all thanks to LG's legendary technology. Perfect black, over 8.3 million self-lit pixels. No one comes close. LG OLED Evo is the best TV in the game for a reason. See for yourself at lg.com/OLED Evo.
Hey y'all, Matt Pittman here, the official pitmaster of the Dallas Cowboys. This holiday season, I've got Yeti's new insulated bowls and food storage working overtime. The insulated bowls are amazing. It'll keep queso warm or guacamole fresh. And the food storage containers protect my ingredients and help me stay organized. They also make great gifts for the host, making Yeti bowls and food storage MVPs for the holidays. Get yours at Yeti.com or a Yeti store near you.
I'm home. Hey, Mom. Before you ask, I've done my homework and the dishwasher's unloaded.
Nice. Hey, can you... Hey, hon, yes, I've got the finale ready to play. Here's your wine.
Wow. Isn't it nice not having to ask? We think so. That's why if there's a network interruption, AT&T will proactively credit you for a full day of service. Guaranteed. Credit for fiber downtime lasting 20 minutes or more, or for wireless downtime lasting 60 minutes or more caused by a single incident impacting 10 or more towers. Restrictions and exclusions apply. See att.com/guarantee for details.
Cowboys fans, here's the game plan. Touchdown Tuesday at Take 5 Oil Change. Just wear your Cowboys gear and save 25% on your oil change. No huddle, no overtime. Just drive in, stay in your car, and roll out. You'll be tailgate ready in 10 minutes flat. Keeping up with your car shouldn't be a tough call. Take 5 makes it as easy as calling the coin toss. Take 5 is the official oil change of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit take5.com to find a location near you. Offer valid through December 31st, 2025. Terms and conditions apply. Valid only at participating locations.
If you shout, "How about them Cowboys?" you have that undeniable passion that's the heart of Cowboys Nation. And if you like to drink Dr. Pepper, you love the unique blend of its 23 flavors. Together, your one-of-a-kind fandom paired with the one-of-a-kind taste of a delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper is the game day lineup that can't be beat. Better yet, gather your Cowboys and Dr. Pepper fan friends to watch the next game and crack open a delicious ice-cold Dr. Pepper for everyone. The wins will be even tastier. It's a pepper thing.
Back to the break.
Choose perfection. Choose LG OLED Evo. Check out the best TV in the game at LG.com.
Welcome back. Second segment of the break, live from SWBC Mortgage
She don't like
Studios.
the Cowboys.
Big event.
She don't like the Cowboys. She's working. She knows what she's talking about, though.
She does.
She harder than a lot of these people in this chat, but she.
This segment is brought to you by blockchain.com. Amber, you were about to make a point before we went to break.
Before you interrupted me and threw it to break.
I'm trying to pay Bill.
Okay.
Yeah.
I say this with us. We're just having a conversation here.
Yep.
This is all
she's
speculation.
about to go in on somebody.
Oh, she is. She is.
Yeah,
That's
she's
how
about to.
Them hands.
With all due respect.
Here comes the compliment sandwich.
He's about to just cut
Because
somebody.
we don't really know if these conversations are actually being taken place behind the scenes. Like, we don't know any of that. So
Yeah.
this is us just talking, because
Fair.
they could have very well been having this conversation. It's just they couldn't do anything about it because you're in the middle of the season. It's just, okay, big changes. You can't make those very often. So my question to your point, Derek, because you're talking about this a process of, like, you go through the season, then you meet in with these coaches. You hope they snitch and say all these things.
Dirty Mac.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they snitch. Go
And
ahead. Sorry.
I
don't wanna
agree
interrupt.
with the whole chain in command theory. Sure,
Thank you.
that's very respectful. Works great in the corporate world, but this is a different world here, football. Now, with that being said, let's say I go through a really crappy season of me doing a bad job, and I wait all the way into our review. And I go to you, Derek. I'm like, well, I was having these issues, this and that, and this and that. And wouldn't you tell me, why did you not come talk to me sooner?
Okay, you know something? Right now,
I do know something. You would tell me that in my review. You would say, why didn't you not come to me and talk to me sooner?
Right now,
Because you could have saved us in week 8.
Right now, you are doing exactly.
Or done something.
You are doing exactly what happens to me at my home with my wife and my kids. They don't listen.
That's true.
I said in the first segment, I'm going to ask you, what did you say as a result of them going down this path and you not thinking it was the right path? Did you say that? And when you said it, what happened? Like, I want to know all those things.
But you should know that already.
Well, not
if
necessarily.
you're part of the conversation, you should know that. Yes, if I'm having such a big issue with my manager, supervisor,
That's
you,
not true.
as the
That's
head
not
of the head, you should be aware of the situation.
That is not true.
What do you mean, no?
I would put it like this. In a season, I don't think a position coach is going to go to the general manager and say, this guy doesn't know what he's doing. What I do think he will do is I think he will go to his
Derek got a point.
He will go to his coordinator. He will go to his coordinator and say,
Oh.
hey, man, I don't think we're going down the right path here. Yeah. And the coordinator might be like, all right, man, I know what I'm doing. Just trust me. Now, he might even go to the head coach and say, hey, head coach, I don't think we're going the right way.
Yeah.
He's not going to the general manager to say, we're not. So unless the head coach brings it up to the general manager, it probably ain't going to get to the general manager until the general manager says, hey, position coach, come sit down with me. Let's have a talk. What's going on? Why did this happen? What was your response? And then he has the opportunity to be able to do that. But he is not. That's like saying someone who is working as an intern in our department is going to come and sit down with me and tell me all the things that are going wrong in the department without talking to their supervisor.
But if you keep breaking for 18 weeks, though, right?
During the season, it's a season. Now, once you get to the off season, I think there might be some conversation. But during the season, I think you follow the chain of command. You do what you're being told to do. You give some feedback, but you don't take it to
then that goes back to Schotty. That falls on Schottenheimer.
Okay, and that's fair. That's fair. And that becomes a question of when you sit down with your head coach, say, hey, how much did you know about what was going on over here? Because I'm hearing this, and this. What, like, again, these are the same things. You said it's different. It's no different than the corporate world. It really isn't. It's the exact same thing. It's like they're talking to their supervisor, and there are things I find out about months, sometimes a year later, that happened in a department that I'm like, why didn't somebody?
And you hate that, don't you? You hate that.
I absolutely do.
Hold on.
But I also understand what the position that person was in.
It is.
They're not going to come to me with something like that. They're going to take it to their supervisor because that's actually what they're supposed to do.
It is different because football, you only have X amount of games in a season.
Man.
My job is this job. But then let's say I get fired here.
Yeah. You're not
my future also depends on what happens here. So this is a little different than the regular corporate world.
Hey, man, don't give ideas, please.
What'd you say?
You about to go work for the Saints.
Don't give ideas. Don't give ideas.
And win some Emmys
you
over
can
there.
only work
Texans.
But again, it's a little different in that sense because your future literally depends on what happens in these, 18 weeks or whatever?
Right, but here's the deal. Let's assume that you were that person that went and said, hey, GM, this is a problem. Do you not think that follows you as you leave here and you go somewhere else? Do you not think other coaches...
But we terrible, Derek. We terrible.
After you go through the chain of command you're talking about.
Let him finish, Amber.
Yeah, go ahead.
Let him finish.
There is also a part that when you now leave, Do you not think other coaches will be saying, you know what he did in Dallas?
Yeah.
And that dude went to the GM.
But he wasn't wrong, though, Derek. That was Ambar saying.
That is beside the point. He will be a snitch. He will be called.
Nah,
he ran.
We all snitching. Derek, what I'm saying.
Snitching is justified. If you're being put through a difficult situation, no, hold on. Sometimes, in most cases, no. In most cases, no.
Sure.
But if you go through the proper chain of command, as you say, if you go through the proper steps of it, and you still being stuck in the same situation where you're not being given the right tools for change, therefore, yes, at that point, I'm not saying, oh, let's go around and snitch on each other and point fingers, or no, you got to take accountability. But are you being due diligent on your own actions and doing what you need to do in order for you to improve your job? So that's all I'm saying. Yes, go through those steps. I'm not saying go directly knocking on the third floor and talk to Jerry. I'm not saying that. That's absurd, okay? But I'm saying, like, at what point did it get to Schottenheimer's part of it?
Yeah.
Talk through it. The biggest change was, okay, after the bye, they made those trades. They didn't really do much. For the first 2 weeks, yes, those first 3 games, they got those wins.
Sure.
After that, went back to what it was. And then the next change was sending Eberflus to the
press box
to up there.
Please.
And there was no changing.
Well, but here's the deal. I don't think you can say that because we don't know what other changes they were making that didn't work out. Like, they could have made other changes that just sucked. Like,
I watch film. The people made no change.
They could have made changes, and the changes could have just sucked. They didn't work. My point is, I do think that
again, this is all just for the sake of the argument. We're just talking. When
you're talking about a coach. Yeah. I think it is. And I'll tell you this. I've heard conversations back in some other years, not this year, but in other years where coaches felt like the coordinator or the guy that was above them that they were reporting to wasn't doing the right things. And some of those conversations, you catch a coach and you're having a conversation over a beer, or you catch them in the hall and you're just having a conversation. And what inevitably would be the end of that conversation is, hey, man, I still got to just do my job. Like, I can only do what I can do. I can control what I can control. And I think that I think it is unfair to say, well, why didn't you go tell the GM? I think at the end of the day, they have a responsibility to tell their supervisor. In this case, the supervisor would be the coordinator. And at that point, if the supervisor takes that advice, great. If he doesn't, then your job is to continue to do the best you can do with what you're being asked to do. That's the way it works.
Derek, if my last name was Eagleton, and I was in charge of this operation, and I got
media group.
Yeah, whoever.
Okay.
And I got people in charge of the people that's working, right?
Yeah.
The company's in danger. And they've constantly gone to the person in charge. Not me, but they've constantly gone to the person in charge. And then they say, forget this. I'm going to Voch or Derek, Eagleton, whoever. And they say, Voch, the company's about to crumble. This is happening, and management ain't doing nothing about it. Don't you give that worker credit for going over that person's head to come to you to save the company?
Absolutely, but here's the reality.
And you only got 18 weeks to save it?
But wait. But here's the reality. Here's the reality. There is a very, 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 very small percentage of people that are willing to go take it that high in that short period of time. By the way, there's some.
Come to me if the company's in danger.
Nick Eatman and I went at it one time talking about this department.
Who won?
No, Nick and I had a really.
Y'all talked about it.
No, Nick and I went at it, and I appreciate Nick going back at me about it. We talked about it and for a long time. And when I left, it was like I looked at him, I said, you did exactly what you said you were going to do, and I appreciated that. And so, you're capable of doing it.
And by the way, I encourage him.
You absolutely do. That's why I did it.
I say I have
That's why I did it.
Policy.
Yeah.
Anybody in my department, your ideas are not minimized. However, most people don't take advantage of it.
That's
because they're either intimidated by it. Yeah. They don't want to get in a situation where they're speaking, and then someone's like, "Well, you didn't know what you were talking about." Like, there's a lot of reasons why people are not willing to do it. I don't think the majority, and so I don't think it's fair.
Maybe you're not the right person.
But
I need leaders.
My point is, I think it's unfair to say because you were not willing to go beyond your chain of command that you're not a good coach. I don't think that's fair to do. I want to find out what was the situation. Sure. I want to find out why you were in the situation. I want to find out what you said about it. And as a result of that, I will make a determination as to whether I feel like you're a good coach who was just in a bad situation or you were part of the problem.
Let's also, and I'm going to say this, I think it's up to management to go and talk to the employees. if they don't. I mean, you don't always have to have somebody come up and say something to you. I think that Jerry and Stephen Jones are very capable of walking up to one of the assistant coaches and saying, hey, can I have a minute of your time? I want to talk to you about something.
Let me ask you this. Do you think that could, in some instances, create more, I don't know what the right word is. Dissension is the word that comes to my mind. But do you think it can create even more drama because now this guy's saying this guy's saying this, this guy's saying this?
It's my job.
And you're left trying to figure out who's telling the truth and what you
That's why I would go through and talk to everybody I could. I'm not
now. Yes,
I'm talking to equipment guys. I'm talking to the trainers. I'm talking to the coaches. I'm talking to the ops guys. As a general manager, I want to know just the thing that you said earlier when you said you go a month and somebody doesn't tell you something. And you're like, why wouldn't you not tell me that?
Yeah.
I think it's our responsibility as leaders of groups to go and talk to the employees that work for us. And hey, well, listen, this is something that I've been wanting. And you see, sometimes you get some very honest answers, but you get the answers so you're not surprised by. That's the thing I would always hate is, why am I being surprised by this? Why am I, I had a chance in Philadelphia to run their department for a short time, but I went through, I had 8 scouts, 4 of them quit because they didn't want to work for me. That's fine. But the other 4, I asked, why did you stay? Why did you want to be here? And they were telling me why. So I learned, and then I talked to the equipment guys, and I talked to the trainers, and I talked to anybody that I could get information from. And I felt people were very honest in that situation, but I was being proactive about it. Yeah. And I think, though, sometimes as managers or leaders, we're not proactive enough with our staff.
That's fair.
That's, I think, the biggest issues we have.
Last thing, then a break. I think how bad the defense is kind of gives you a pass. Like if the defense was like 18th ranked or something like that, and somebody going to Jerry Jones' room, okay, you being goofy now, you being petty. It's 18th overall, but like the level of danger, like bro, we 39th defense. I would expect Jerry to be like, hey, my door is open.
Yeah.
I need answers from somebody because we're 39th. This ain't like Ambar took something home that she wasn't supposed to be taking. Like the building's on fire. Call Derek. You see what I'm saying? Like it should be worth going to Jerry Jones because you're horrible and you're wasting like Dax, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Dax Prime, whatever, please.
No, I just, like I said, I believe that as a manager, you have to be able to go out in the field and talk to your guys and gals and learn from them, and kind of have an understanding. I think too many times that people are afraid to have conversations because they don't want to go in your office and talk about it. But if you catch them in their areas or take them out for a walk around the field, whatever you have to do, you learn a lot that way. You learn what's troubling. Yeah. You learn what's right and maybe what you learn what you can fix and what you can't fix.
And that's where I'm right with you, Brian, in like flipping this thing around rather than you being the one going above the chain of the command. And all. Because realistically, that sounds good. But if you put yourself in that real position, it's a very
hard.
Difficult thing.
Yeah, it is hard.
It's very tough. But that's where it goes down to management and them being the ones being proactive in having those conversations, going up to whoever. And I know that's a difficult thing to do during the season, but we all knew where the arrow was pointing. We all knew what the outcome was about to be. So you've had weeks. Again, we don't know if these conversations have been happening.
Right, they could have been happening all the time. Yeah.
They could have. We're just having a conversation here for a show since this weekend we played the Giants. So we got to do something. But that's the point. It's like, you got to be proactive in that sense of having those conversations. And when we do meet, like, for example, in our review, let's say we have a bunch of people above me, between you and me. When we have that conversation in our yearly review, I would hope that at that point, let's say you ask me, okay, did you talk to so-and-so? And I say, yes, I talked to this person, and that person. Nothing changed. Mm-hmm. And then that's where I have more understanding there
and that's my
for
point.
that person.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that's my point. Yep.
It's, at the end of the day, it's easier said than done.
Please.
But
please.
It is what it is.
Hey, man, I'll just say this, and we'll wrap this thing up.
Ain't no third segment.
I think it's not going to be a third segment. I really just believe, like, you have to remember, sometimes it's easy for us. It's easy for us when you're commentating about football to think of all the parts, players, coaches, as robots. as pieces on a board. They're not. They're human. They're people. And in the same way that we all have our own insecurities, we have our own ways that we deal with situations, we have our own fears that drive our emotions and drive our actions, like they do too. And so I think it's unfair for us not to consider the fact that even though things could have gone terribly wrong, there may have been coaches who felt like, and by the way, I think it's a legitimate way to look at life, who felt like my job is to serve the person that I'm reporting to. And so if they ask me to do something, I'm going to give it 110% to do what they're asking me to do. And I may not always agree, because I think sometimes what isn't talked about, sometimes you may not agree and then you find out later, oh, they knew exactly what they were talking about because it all came around. Yeah. So your job is ultimately, you got to give feedback. I think that's important. Yep. But at the same time, it is your responsibility. I've always taken that approach with my career is when I have someone who's considered my boss, my job is to make their job easy, which means I got to do everything I can to support the things that they're trying to get done. And even if I don't necessarily agree with the direction, as long as they're not asking me to do something immoral or illegal, it's my job to try to fulfill those things and make their job easy. I'm just telling you that's how I approach it, and I think there are a lot of people out there who do. And I think you can find success in having that perspective. As Jerry, I think at this point, it's up to him to now figure out which of these guys were part of the problem, or which of these guys were just following the way that they were being asked to do, doing it the best they could do.
Agreed.
When I have problems at .com, I go straight to Derek. If I got problems at Crown, I go straight to Brian. If I got problems at Somos, I go straight to Ambar. Ain't no chain of command. I'm going straight to the top.
Hey, back up. Did we hire you at Somos?
Huh?
We hired you at Somos?
Ambar, did we?
He on the Somos staff now?
Ambar,
he's trying to get that award.
I kind of like it.
Hey, come on now.
Let's go with it. I kind of like it.
You know what I'm saying?
Say it, Ambarita.
Ambarita. It's getting better every day.
It's getting better.
Ambarita.
All right, folks, we appreciate you joining us. We'll be back tomorrow. I think we might actually
listen to my questions on the radio this afternoon.
No.
Ain't no question.
The whole show tomorrow is gonna be Brian's questions. Gonna be a little bit of Yeti time with Amber, and we'll get ready for a Happy New Year. We'll be back till then. For Voch Lombardi, Bryan Broaddus, and Ambar Garcia, I'm Derek Eagleton. This has been The Break, live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?